Welcome to Nerd Putty's review of X-Men 137. This is a very famous issue, one of the best comics of all time, one of the best individual comics of all time. This is the Fate of the Phoenix, where the Shire Empire, Lilandra, the Empress of the Shire Empire, decides that Phoenix has to die because she's just too dangerous to have around. So the X-Men and Professor Xavier are teleported to the home planet of the Shire Empire. You got Gladiator there, you've got Lilandra. Lilandra has decided to ensure the safety of the universe that the Phoenix must be destroyed. Of course, the X-Men aren't too happy about that, but Gladiator explains that while Phoenix was the Dark Phoenix, she consumed the star Dabari, which was an inhabited system. The sun died, and so did 5 billion of the planet that relied on that sun's inhabitants. Also, a Shire warship got destroyed in the attempt to bring the Dark Phoenix down. Of course, this is all very surprising, but also very devastating for Jean Grey. Can't help what she does as Dark Phoenix, but nevertheless will again become Dark Phoenix. So Lilandra, understanding this, makes a determination that the Phoenix has to die. Professor Xavier challenges her to a duel of honor. And in the Shire Empire, it's a challenge that can't be refused. So we end up in a situation where you have the Kree Empire, the Skrull Empire, the Shire Empire, all are working together to destroy the Dark Phoenix, and the X-Men are going to try to defend her. The Beast tries to argue with Lilandra, saying, hey, this is not fair. Dark Phoenix deserves a trial. But the reality is Dark Phoenix is just too powerful and too dangerous to be left alive. Alone in her study, Jean Grey acknowledges that she was terrible. But she also says beautiful. Somehow she says she was an angel. She didn't want this awesome power. She didn't mean to do it, but she did anyway. The rest of the X-Men start to prepare for battle. The Shire Imperial Guard, with some help from the Kree and the Skrulls, versus the X-Men on the face of the moon. Nightcrawler's getting prepared. Angel is not really prepared. Has not been part of the Danger Room exercises between Storm and Nightcrawler, but he's going to help as well. Wolverine also is trying to understand the ethics behind whether Dark Phoenix should be destroyed or should he protect somebody that he loves, Jean Grey. Who's responsible here? Jean Grey? Should Jean Grey die because Dark Phoenix is so terrible? Because they're one and the same? The Beast is also coming to grips with the ethical dilemma. He believes that Jean should have a chance to defend herself. So does Colossus. So does Storm. Even though Storm hates the Dark Phoenix, she knows that she loves Jean. And in honor of that love, she is going to defend Jean Grey. Of course, Cyclops, we know what side he's on. Jean Grey dresses up as Marble Girl from the original X-Men. Cyclops talks with the X-Men and says, hey, I'm not asking you to come and fight, but of course they're going to. Right around the time that they get teleported to the moon, Lilandra says, you have my word that the X-Men will not win. They're on the moon, which is, honestly, this is a beautiful shot here. And it's a vacuum which is going to limit Storm's powers, and the Imperial Guard gets teleported. Angel almost flies out into space, and Cyclops has to say, listen, we're only 8 people, you have to be careful. They start fighting, and Starbolt shoots a flame at Cyclops, and Angel comes after the Oracle, and the Beast faces off against a giant robot with the help of Colossus. They have Gladiator, who's basically just as strong as Superman, on the side of the Imperial Guard. The X-Men do their best to fight the Imperial Guard and the Kree and the Skrull elements. Earthquake disrupts the ground under Storm and Wolverine. Wolverine ends up falling into the Watcher's lair. But the X-Men is just outnumbered. Storm doesn't have her maximum powers in the vacuum of the fight space on the moon. And she gets taken out by Hussar and Earthquake. The X-Men are just holding them at bay. Oracle comes up behind the Angel and Smasher throws Angel down a shaft. Nightcrawler tries to go after him, and then Wolverine gets pissed off because the Watcher is admonishing him to don't come into my lair, and then he gives Wolverine a little taste of what could happen if he doesn't listen. You can be transported back to prehistoric times or sent into a far future, the farthest reaches of the future. He says, return here at your own risk. When Wolverine comes to, he sees Storm, and Storm comes over and says, hey, I'm glad you're okay, but Wolverine suspects that something's up, throws Storm to the ground, and realizes it's actually a Skrull. Wolverine is about to slice and dice the Skrull, and then boom, a Kree comes to the Skrull's aid, which is an insult that he cannot accept, and turns himself into a monster and lunges at the Kree. One by one, the X-Men get taken out. Nightcrawler by Manta. A really awesome battle between Colossus and Gladiator. And really, Colossus gives him a run for his money. But they're on their home turf there, and it looks like they fight to a standstill, but all the rubble around them crashes down on them, and it's Gladiator who emerges. Charles Xavier realizes that they're not gonna win. At the end, it's just Cyclops and Marvel Girl, and they try to fight them off, but the reality is that they're gonna lose. So guess what? Dark Phoenix returns. And then everybody goes to work trying to beat Dark Phoenix. Even the X-Men. Storm and Cyclops, Wolverine and Colossus. They just cannot bring themselves to kill Jean. Jean Grey feels herself turning more and more into the Dark Phoenix and explains to Cyclops, listen, this is a progression I can't stop. You should know because you have a psionic rapport with me. Jean Grey is scared. She's hanging on by her fingernails. She knows it's inevitable. She will turn into this terrible Dark Phoenix. She can't forget that she killed 5 billion people. She doesn't want to kill one more person. So she takes her own life. Cyclops realizes that Dark Phoenix planned this all along. That if Lilandra couldn't do it, that Jean would do it herself. And the Watcher says that this is what makes humanity virtually unique. This extraordinary capacity for self-sacrifice, the ability to triumph over seemingly insurmountable obstacles, if the cause is just, knowing all the while that to do so means certain death. Jean Grey could have lived to become a god, but it was more important to her that she die a human.